Hello, everybody. This is Heather Alderman, the Executive Director of COSMA, and I'm here today to talk to you about the most general bird's eye view of the COSMA accreditation process. So if you have any questions, please do ask, but I'll just kind of keep going through this bird's eye view, and you can let me know what you think. Oh, there is someone else coming, so I'll just admit her. All right. Okay, so we have rooted this accreditation process within a specific philosophy. And this is really helpful to understand because when you ask me specific questions about your program, I'm answering based on this philosophy. So that is why you might say, hey, what kind of training should a faculty member have, or what expertise should they have? And so these are the ways that I will answer you, that really, I can't tell you what your faculty should know or what expertise area they should have, because this is determined by your program. So when I say that it is outcomes-based, this model, and mission-driven, what I mean is that you determine based on the mission of your program, which is tied to the mission of a department or a college and then the university, what is important for your students to know when they're finished with the program. And in the same line, the outcomes that you will write and that you will measure are based on that mission. So that is the overarching philosophy. So that it allows this particular accrediting process to be very flexible. And many different programs with all kinds of degree levels and housed in different departments, and also with different foci can go through this process and approach it in these unique ways, but still demonstrate compliance with our accreditation principles. So these principles, and I will go through them toward the end of this presentation, aren't just pulled from thin air, but they are based on characteristics of excellence in sport management, education, and best practices. So we update our orientation toward this as things shift and change in sport industry and within higher education. So it's not static either. And another couple of areas that are important about the philosophy of this model is that we see it as a developmental process. So we may get a program that has never conducted outcomes assessment to apply. And so through the process, they will learn how to do that and will continue to improve upon that. And we also get programs that have been doing outcomes assessment for a long time or are required to do it with other accrediting bodies or even with their regional accrediting body. And so we take the program where it is and try to help shift it and move it to better itself and to do better. And of course, what is that better? What is the goal? Well, again, it's based upon your program. And then another aspect of this model is that we want you to not just get accredited and then forget about it for 7 years, but to continuously use the data that you're collecting to improve and to have a touch point and to understand where you are and where your students are. And certainly, as an example, during COVID, this was incredibly important because so many things about how material was delivered and just our whole entire lives were changed. And so taking that data, even if data didn't look very good during that period, was a way to understand how to shift and to change, to adapt to that. And then, of course, we've just continued to shift and change and adapt to that as we've moved on. So that's what, as I said, most of the questions that I answer that are very specific or you want a specific answer, I can't give it to you, but I am basing it upon what you do and what's important to you. So something that a lot of people ask me about is, what is the point of this accreditation process? What are the benefits? So I have listed here a few. I would say that something that is very satisfying to me as the executive director is that many programs use this process to leverage some resources within their institutions. And, it's not that the site reviewers or that the Board of Commissioners are able to say, if you don't, do X, then you will not be accredited. That's not their job, but they push you to look at the resources that you have, for example, or the way in which you're delivering information and say, is this how you want to do it? Is this meeting our principle? And here are some suggestions for how that can be improved. So sometimes that results in some resources being allocated to a program. We do offer some templates for rubrics, for measurement tools to go through the process. We don't really like to share too much because I certainly would not want to see programs just spitting back to me some sample that they've received instead of really digging deep, looking at what they're doing, and then providing the information. So the templates that we do have give you the basics of what's required, but how you are expressing your responses to that is going to be up to you. Something else that is really important for programmatic accreditors, which is the type of accrediting body that this is that we have been recognized by the Council for Higher Education Accreditation. So that is a group that is different from the United States Department of Education, but is a group that has standards that they hold accreditors to. So COSMA has been recognized by this organization. So the reason we do many of the things we do and the way that we do these things is maybe because there are standards in place that require us to do so. We've also gotten some feedback from programs that they have an enhanced reputation on their campuses, maybe even in their state or region, and that they're really seen as able to do something great by getting this accreditation, and their majors have been elevated as a result. And as I mentioned in the philosophy, really this is an effective mechanism to really push you to continuously improve your program. Sometimes without a little external help, it's difficult to fit that in among all the other things that you have going on. So I will continue a little bit on these benefits because I have received quite a bit of positive feedback. So I'm just providing this for you so that you understand. Maybe you don't know, well, how could this accreditation help me? I'm just being told to do it. But think about it strategically and think about it in terms of where you think there could be improvements in your program and why this process could help you. So it could help you in your curriculum. It could help you with strategic planning, with certain student-centered opportunities within faculty. You know, if you need more resources to be able to go to conferences, it might afford you that. And just there is a lot of sharing of information within this organization, and I think that helps programs have not just the benchmark against themselves, but amongst their peers and amongst other organizations. And we really put students at the center. And so we have a student membership that's free. We recognize excellent students, and that's accredited programs are able to put forth the names of students who are meeting the requirements for our Student Honor Society. And that really just not only benefits the program, but certainly the students as well. So something a little bit boring, but very important is what programs can be accredited. And given the diversity within sport management, how do we know that something is a sport management program? So we very carefully outline this within our documents. And what we do before someone is actually going through the process is we have a checklist that is not required, but it's another one of those kind of templates to help you understand what's going on. But we want you to list all of the programs that have the word sport in it. So all of the degrees that have sport in it. And you may realize that, oh, there's this sports psychology program over in the psychology department. That's not sport management. Well, we want to know that it exists. And of course, based on the content of the courses and the core of that particular degree, it doesn't mean that program is going to be included. But there's some nomenclature, and there is some weight that we can put behind making these decisions that may help you define your sport management department a little bit more clearly, especially if other departments are trying to take that sport name and use it to attract students, although it's not, a sport management program. So we ask you to provide a rationale if there are any other programs that may appear to be a sport management program, and you can see some of the criteria upon which this decision is made. This is not a difficult process. Usually it's very straightforward, and many universities or colleges just have one sport management program, so it's not complicated, but others have a little bit more complexity. And it's really important that the public knows what's accredited once you go through this process. So if there is some overlap between some programs that are not sport management and the ones that are, we use this time to help separate them out. And even that may just look like having two separate web pages, that kind of thing. So it is about appearances, but it's also about the content and the quality. So to get into a little bit more detail about that, a sport management degree program at the undergraduate or bachelor's level needs to have at minimum 20% sport management content in its core. So if there are 120 credit hours in a bachelor's degree, 20% of that should be in sport management. Many times this is exceeded. Sometimes it's right on the edge of that 20%. And that may be because there is another core as well, like a business core that's going on at the same time. And those are, that is fine, but this is going to be discussed before you go through this process so that we're all on the same page. And for a master's degree, there is a requirement that 50% of the core be sport management content. So that's higher and different from that bachelor's degree. And of course, the doctoral program is a totally entirely different thing. So I'm not talking about that here. We do have a list of some of the different names that the sport management program might have. And I've just given a couple of examples here, but there are many, sport law and sport leadership. So that is a little bit about this scope. And so you may not call your sport management program sport management, but it still may be because its content is sport management. So that's where some of this has to be discussed in advance. We do ask that there be at least an entity that is considered the sport management department or academic unit. That's another way to put it in case you use different language on your at your institution. And it does need to be led by someone who is doctorally or professionally qualified. And we do define that within our documents. So it doesn't mean that you have to be in a specific department either. As I said, and as you know, sport management really can be housed in a number of different locations. And it's something that we do keep data on, and it is also on the COSMA website. So you don't have to be in a particular department. And we do require that any program you have, no matter how it's delivered or where it is located. So if you have satellite campuses, physical locations, or if you are having a degree that's both face-to-face, online, or hybrid, it really should be included in the process. So we go through all of this so we know what's going on. Maybe this is very straightforward for you, but in case it's not, we do emphasize this quite a bit. And so that is why I'm going over it that many times. There are these steps in the accreditation process. And so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about them because I'm actually hosting a number of other sessions this fall where you will hear all that you wanted to hear about all of these processes. So I'll just say a little bit here. The membership piece is just filling out a form to say, we are a sport management degree program at X university or college. Our university or college has the appropriate accreditation to confer degrees legally. So that generally for those programs in the United States would be a regional accreditor. And you're legally allowed to confer degrees. And then we want you to provide the the top administrator in your institution's a blessing that you're going through this process. So what we need to know is that you have support, and that from the top, that needs to come, even if that person doesn't know a lot about your program, is certainly not involved in the day-to-day. It's more that when you do need resources, or you're hosting a site visit, or something is happening, that person has said, yes, I did support this program going through this process. So, hopefully any requests that you make, or events that you're hosting will be supported. So the program membership is not a difficult step. It is more of just saying that you have this commitment to begin the process. The next step is really where you start to formulate some important components that will be used later on in the process. So the biggest one, of course, is outcomes assessment. And as you know, this is an outcomes-focused accrediting process. So maybe you have outcomes assessment that you do on many different levels, or for different stakeholders. So the point of this is to take whatever you're doing and make sure that what you present to us, and of course, this does also have a template associated with it, but that you are able to focus it on those sport management students and what they are going to be able to do and know at the end of their program. So you may be collecting data on a lot of different students, or students that have adjacent backgrounds. We just want those sport management students, and we just want that group to be measured. So that's where there's a little bit of adjustment possibly with the outcomes assessment that you might already do. But we're looking both at the students in this area, and then we're also looking at that academic unit that I have talked about. So what is this department or this academic unit? How is it functioning? What are its goals? So that may include specific elements of what a faculty person must do, or what they are aspiring to. But anyway, I will have a whole session on this because it is quite complicated. And then aside from that outcomes assessment plan within candidacy status, you are presenting just a little bit of information about many other aspects of your program that relate to our accreditation principles, which I will outline in a few slides. So this is a little bit more of a important step in that it gets you to be somewhat familiar with the process. It is allowing you some of that developmental time, if you need it, to get ready, because the next step is much more complex, and it is to write a self-study document. So based on our 7 principles, you would be answering what we call self-study guidelines, which are questions about what you're doing and how you're doing it, and providing evidence of that. And that is this larger self-study document. So in between candidacy status and writing that self-study document, there may be some time, there may be some back and forth between you and our Board of Commissioners, which is making these decisions. And the point of candidacy status is to help get you ready to write the self-study. So we are really trying to help you be successful and to help you understand what the requirements are. So once you've written that self-study document, you will be in contact with me to plan a site visit. So this is when peers of yours, so other sport management faculty that, of course, you do not know and have no conflict of interest with, will read your self-study document. They will come to your campus and they will talk to you and all the other stakeholders involved in your program. So this is a big deal. It is a couple of days of time. Faculty need to be available. We need administrators available. We need students available. They're going to take a tour of your campus, look at your offices, and validate that information that you put in your self-study. So I will, of course, host another session where I give a lot of detail about how to prepare for this. And then that information that the site visit team gathers will be written into a report. And so your self-study document, that report, and then any response you have, which we call a rejoinder to some findings in the site visit, all of that information goes to our Board of Commissioners. And the Board of Commissioners then would make an accreditation decision. And I'm not going to go into detail exactly about what that is, because again, in the future, I will do this. But you can read about the nitty-gritty details of what those accreditation decisions are in our accreditation process manual. So then this kind of last cycle or last piece of the accreditation process, let's say you have been accredited, let's say maybe there's a deferral of a decision to accredit regardless, or let's say you're a program member or in candidacy status. Every year you will be submitting an annual report. So this is a part of that continuous improvement. You are contacting COSMA to say, here's where we are. This is what we did last year. This is where we are with our outcomes assessment data. That's all of the information that we ask from you. And, this is the impact of that information. This is what it means to us. This is how we've analyzed it and what it means. So you are not just getting accreditation and then not doing anything for 7 years. You are staying up with, especially your outcomes assessment process throughout the years. So then when you come up for reaffirmation of accreditation, you are in a good position for that. So I've alluded to this many times. This process is all about continuous improvement and development. So I've already said that this candidacy status is a chance for you to learn and to grow, to develop your outcomes assessment plan, or maybe even it's about strategic planning, something else. And then, of course, you must submit an annual report regardless of your accreditation status. And then I'm going to use a little bit of terminology here that I haven't mentioned yet, which is notes. So when you are accredited, not everyone or very few programs have absolutely nothing to work on. There may be some aspects of your program that could improve. And the ones that are required to be responded to are called notes. So this annual report process is also there so that you can ensure that you are showing the Board of Commissioners that you are coming into compliance with something that maybe you are not fully compliant with. And then some other terminology that I haven't quite mentioned yet, although I've alluded to it, are these acronyms of the SLOs and OEGs. SLO is a student learning outcome. So this is one of the foundational elements of the outcomes assessment plan. It's a statement of what a student, what kinds of skills or information you want a student to know or to have. And then the OEG is operational effectiveness goal. And it's just a fancy way of talking about that academic unit, that the operations of the sport management department. And I alluded to that before. So you're going to be updating us on any goals that you have for that. All right. So of course, what does this cost? How is this, how expensive is this? This is a little bit of an update. So COSMA started in 2008, and our annual membership fee was $1,800, and that has not changed. For the 2024-25 fiscal year, which will start next July 1st through June 30th, the fee has been raised by 10%. So I'm telling you this, I have told our current membership this so that they can prepare. That said, something incredibly important within this organization is that all programs have access to this accreditation process, and cost can be a barrier. So yes, we raised the fee, and we're also, and this has actually been the case in the past, we are allowing programs to either have some sort of temporary reduction in their fee, or maybe it is more of a permanent reduced fee. And that will be determined on a case-by-case basis and annually. So our board of directors, which is the operations on the operations side of COSMA, decided to raise the fees, but also is working within this framework of really ensuring that all programs can afford this process. So there is more information on the website, and certainly as the next year rolls around, I'll be there to help field any requests for reduced fees that exist, and that will be there is a kind of a flow chart of a process so that we can make those determinations. The only other cost would be that your program pays for that site visit that would occur at the soonest every 7 years. So when you're going through the process and all those steps that I outlined, when you get to that site visit, the initial site visit, this is where some of the costs would come in. So the costs on the left side of the little divider are for programs housed in the United States, and the other side is for any program that is housed outside of the United States. And as you can see, there are two sections. There are fixed costs and variable costs. So the fixed costs will be an application fee that you will pay, and then the site reviewers receive an honorarium for their time. And that is split up between the two site reviewers. And normally a site visit is 2 days with 2 reviewers. And there are circumstances where that would be different. If you have many programs or complex programs or multiple sites, but the average is the 2 days, 2 site reviewers. And then costs like travel, of course, food, lodging, and then other travel fees that site reviewers may incur, like parking at their home airport or driving to an airport. Those are variable. So what we have done is always, you are not paying site visitors directly. You pay COSMA, COSMA pays the site reviewers, but you can either have COSMA organize the entire visit for you for a flat fee, or you can pay directly. Regardless, that $2,200 is fixed, but the rest of it then is variable. And yes, I will be talking about this in a subsequent presentation so that I can answer questions and get really into the details. All right, last, but of course not least, are the accreditation principles themselves. There are 7 of them. Until a couple of years ago, there were 8, but we had one that was about innovation, and it has been woven through all the rest. So we're trying to streamline, trying to simplify. But basically, the focus, as you've already heard from me multiple times, is outcomes assessment. So that is our first principle, and that is really the cornerstone of the process. And then the other principles here relate to other aspects of your program. So strategic planning, curriculum, faculty, scholarly and professional activities, resources, and then internal and external relationships. So many, what you would do to find out more about each of these is to look in our accreditation principles and self-study preparation manual. So that is the most important, one of the most important documents. All right, as I said, I'm going to have other trainings. So here is, I'm just going to get out of this. That's the list there. I know I just have a few people here and I'm still recording, but I just want to see if anyone has any questions. And if not, then I will stop the recording.
No questions.
Hi, Heather. No questions. I just want to say thank you again. This has been, I know I sat through last time and I want to kind of get more a refresher. So this is wonderful. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.